when doing an Indiana Jones movie, aliens is not what I had in mind.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here, so it's time for another movie review today in my Indiana Jones franchise review series, and I'm going to be reviewing what is, of course, the fourth installment of the franchise, and the last one before this planned fifth installment comes out, which is slated to come out next year, which I refuse to watch. And this is, unfortunately, my least favourite in the franchise, guys, and also, sadly, as well, my least favourite movie of all time by one of the favourite directors of all time, Steven Spielberg. And this film, guys, is, of course, none other than 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So, yeah, now, when it comes to this film, guys, I think it's an unnecessary sequel which was not needed, in my opinion, because The Last Crusade had a phenomenal ending where Indiana Jones was riding off into a sunset on a horse with his father, reunited with him, alongside his very loyal ally, Salah, and also his colleague and very dear friend, Marcus Brody. Had a phenomenal ending, and in my opinion, and no more films are needed after that amazing ending. But, of course, 19 years later, of course, we got this movie, so... And that's a pretty late release gap, isn't it, really? Nearly 2 decades, and that's not really a good thing, really. And especially because this movie, in my opinion, wasn't really, that good. So, when it comes to this film, guys, the filmmakers wanted to pay tribute to, 1950s movies, and the filming began on June 18, 2007, at various locations in New Mexico, New Haven, Connecticut, Hawaii, and Fresno, California, as well as on sound stages in Los Angeles. And the film premiered at the 2008 Cannes Film Festival on May 18, 2008, and was released worldwide on May 22nd, 2008. When it comes to critical reception, it received generally positive reviews from critics, but mixed responses from the audiences. The critics praised the film for its cast, pulpy tone, action sequences, John Williams' musical score, and the costume design, but criticised the dialogue, storyline, pacing, and the overuse of CGI. It was a financial success, like the previous 3 films, because it grossed over $790 million worldwide, and it became the franchise's highest grossing film when not adjusted for inflation, as well as the second highest grossing film of the year behind The Dark Knight, my favourite movie of that year. This is also, of course, the last film in the franchise to be distributed by Paramount Pictures, because obviously in 2008, Disney, of course, got Lucasfilm. So, yeah. And that's probably a red flag, which makes me know this 5th film is going to be garbage, which is why I'm not watching it. Yeah. So when it comes to my reaction to this film, guys, so of course, I watched this film for the first time when I was a kid back in 2008, after I first saw the first 3 films, and when I first saw the film, guys, I liked it, I thought it was good when I was a kid, but as I've got older and older and I've rewatched it, I've noticed many problems with it, and I unfortunately, don't like it as much as the first 3 films, which in my opinion are amazing. And like I said, this movie, in my opinion, was not needed, so, but there is still good quality about this movie, guys, so... When it comes to the cast, obviously Harrison Ford comes back to reprise as well as Indiana Jones in this, and in my opinion, he's still the best part of the movie, just like he's the best part of other films, in my opinion, because despite being 66 in the year this movie came out, he still got it as Indiana Jones, he still makes him a likable character that he is. Thankfully, in this movie, did not ruin Indy, and that's why I appreciate about this movie, because thankfully Indy isn't ruined. I was happy about that. Still alive the character, no matter how old he is. And... also, as well, Harrison Ford did lots of his stunts in this film as well, because thanks to, the longer gap in the years since the last movie, the stunt work has been made safer as well, so he was able to do many more of his own stunts in this, and so that made, his stunts more authentic as well. And he also made sure he gets himself really healthy in the gap between this movie and The Last Crusade, of course, as well, because he had hoped that there'd be more to come, although in my opinion, there shouldn't have been more to come. And... when it comes to other cast members, I did also like the addition as well of George McHale, also known as Mac, played by Ray Winston. Ray was good as him in my opinion. I thought he played him very well. And I also as well like the addition of Sir John Hurt, may he rest in peace, as Harold Oxley. And who was, of course, an old friend of Indiana. And he was good, he was given in my opinion, but I didn't really like how he did not make his appearance until literally an hour into the movie, guys, which is disappointing. So, you have him in the main cast, but you don't make him appear on screen until an hour into the movie. Ridiculous. I also like, as well, of course, the return of Karen Allen as Marion, who is, of course, my favourite love interest of Indiana Jones. I was so glad she came back in this because, you know, she's my favourite out of Indy's love interests. But sadly, just like Oxley, she also did not make her appearance in Sword and Iron movie, which was disappointing as well because she's my favourite love interest. I'm like, come on. You have him in the main cast, but you don't give very much screen time. That's pretty ridiculous. And when it comes to the villain of the film, guys, the villain, of course, is Irina Spalko, who is a villainous Soviet agent played by Cate Blanchett. And I gotta say that Cate Blanchett was actually pretty good as her, in my opinion. I thought she was good, and I like how he made her unique compared to other Indiana Jones main villains because I like how he gave her a sword, which was definitely a nice, unique take for her, absolutely, compared to other villains before. And I think Cate played it very well. Although, personally, guys, I do like her better, for example, as Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, and also, of course, as Hela in Thor Ragnarok. But I thought she was good at what she was doing in this movie, in my opinion. I also like, as well, the addition, as well, of Jim Broadbent as Dean Charles Stanford, who, is, of course, is the dean of the college where Indiana Jones works as a professor. And he's, of course, the new dean, of course, standing in for the character of Marcus Brody because due to Donald Elliott's death in 1992, they decided not to recast the character, and I'm very glad they didn't recast him, thank God for that. So we got a new character to take his place in his job at the college. And it was also nice how they built a statue of Brody as well, but one thing I didn't like about the movie was how the Soviets who were chasing Indiana Jones and, of course, Mutt in the movie, they crash into a statue and the head falls off it, and my reaction to a statue being destroyed was literally the same as Indiana Jones' reaction in that scene, yeah. Because I was like, come on, you pay tribute to Brody and you ruin it like that. Pretty ridiculous. And also, as well, I like, as well, the addition, as well, of Igor Zhikhin as Colonel Antonin Dovchenko. He was a pretty good second-in-command villain, in my opinion, and he's also apparently, as well, the same type of character as was character played by Pat Roach in the first 3 films as well. And I thought it was good he was given, in my opinion, and pretty ruthless too, because he was pretty violent, in my opinion. And yeah, he was pretty good, in my opinion, when he was given. And other cast members were also really good too in this, and also the action scenes are also somewhat decent as well, in my opinion. And you know, they're pretty, you know, watchable, I guess. And you know, honorable mention I could say is probably Indiana Jones' escape in the warehouse at the beginning of the movie. And I also, as well, liked, as well, the scene where Indy and Mutt start a brawl in the bar where they're at to escape from the Soviets who are chasing them. And the motorbike chase is also fine too, I guess, apart from Mutt being reckless, you know, nearly running over people, and also, of course, crashing into Brody's statue, which I definitely did not like. And I guess, as well, maybe, as well, the chase in the jungle is also fine too. All the scenes in the vehicle as well, I guess, maybe. And Indiana's fight with Colonel Dovchenko is also fine too, very well choreographed as well, I guess. And yeah. Other good quality I would say is also, I think the idea of the movie taking place during the Cold War makes sense because the film was set in the 50s to match Harrison Ford getting older. I guess that makes sense, you know, to explain why Indiana Jones is older and it matches Harrison Ford getting older. So yeah. And other good things as well is I did also once again love John Williams' music score in this. You know, my favourite composer of all time. In my opinion, he never composed any bad music that I've heard so far, in my opinion. And this movie was definitely no exception because this was good music, in my opinion. And yeah, so in this movie, of course, he brought up the iconic Indiana Jones theme, amazing theme right there that makes one to go on adventures. And I love how he brought up some familiar themes before. For example, the theme of the warehouse from Raiders of the Lost Ark came back, and it's because this movie confirms that the warehouse they go to look for a crystal skull is the same one where the Ark was placed. And speaking of the Ark, guys, I do also love how there was also a camera appearance of the Ark in its crates, which are definitely nice to see. Nice callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark right there. And I love how John Williams inserted the Ark's theme in that scene as well. And I love how he also included the theme from Last Crusade in some parts too, which is definitely nice to hear. For example, in the scene where Indy looks at the thoughts of his father, and also at the end of the movie, when, you know, everything is done with and, you know, the villains are defeated and the characters are relaxing. And when it comes to the absence of Henry Jones Sr., guys, I can definitely accept that because when this movie came out, Sir Sean Connery had retired from acting, so I can understand that he didn't want to come back because he was enjoying his retirement, so I respect that decision, and yeah, may rest in peace. And other good things as well is, you know, cinematography is also fine too, I guess. And I guess because it's 19 after The Last Crusade, you know, technology is improved and the visuals are definitely still stunning in my opinion. Because, you know, because when I rewatched my Blu-ray of the movie last night, guys, you know, it does look pretty stunning in my opinion for a 2008 movie, of course, yeah. Apart from, of course, the obvious CGI, which was not really good in my opinion. So, yeah, and the movie does also have a somewhat decent ending as well, guys, where Indiana Jones and Marion get married. I was happy they got married. Definitely deserved that happy ending in my opinion. And yeah, because like I said, guys, Marion's my favourite love interest of Indy, so I'm glad they got married. And yeah, happy ending for them. But unfortunately, he did kind of get ruined by a stupid gag put in there with Indy's hat, which I'll be talking about, the bad qualities. And yeah, so Valley's on to him. So when it comes to bad qualities, so now I'm going to get a cat out of the bag, guys, and say that my biggest problem with this movie is, of course, as I said in the cold opening of this review, the inclusion of aliens. Yeah, they actually included aliens in an Indiana Jones film, guys, which is just stupid and ridiculous because Indiana Jones, guys, is not a science fiction franchise at all. You're not Star Wars Indiana Jones. Oh, no. And yeah, so I was really annoyed about that. It's just so ridiculous, really, because like I said, Indiana Jones is not a sci-fi franchise. And apparently it was George Lucas' idea, and I don't know why he wants to include aliens. I really don't know why he wants to include them at all. I do also believe that Spielberg was also against this idea as well. But, you know, he still did a movie for his friend George Lucas who wrote it, so yeah, but, you know, it was a shame, really, that they had to include aliens because they're out of place in the franchise completely. It's just so stupid, and don't you dare get me started on the scenes where, you know, at the end of the movie, a portal opens to another dimension. Like, are you serious? And the creatures with the skulls, as in, you know, Crystal Skull and the title, merge together to form like an alien. Oh my god, you know, interdimensional being. Then, of course, at the end of the movie, there's, of course, the infamous scene where the Temple of Akator crumbles or is destroyed and it becomes a UFO. Oh my god. I mean, I guess the scene was visually stunning and John Williams' music was great in that scene, but the UFO was just extremely annoying because when I watch that scene, guys, I just facepalm. Ridiculous, in my opinion. Yeah, I can't believe I had to include aliens in this movie. It's just so stupid. What about a movie, guys, is also the movie also lacks an unrelated opening sequence before the main story begins, like the previous films had, because in Raiders, it begins with Indy and a group looking for the idol at the beginning of the movie before the main story begins, where he's looking for the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do. In Temple of Doom, it begins in Club Obi-Wan, where Indy is making a deal with a criminal Lao Shi before escaping, where he, of course, meets, you know, the villagers in Mayapur who are given the task of finding the Sankara stones to save them and rescue their children from the Temple of Doom, of course. And in Last Crusade, it begins with a flashback showing young Indiana Jones getting across the Coronado before it cuts to a main story of him, you know, looking for his father. So, yeah. And whereas this movie does not. There's no opening which is unrelated at all before the main story begins. It just begins immediately from the very first scene of the movie involving Indiana Jones and Matt getting kidnapped by the Russians. So, yeah. Like, why couldn't we just had an opening showing them, you know, like, on a random adventure or something, as they were talking about, before they get captured? Yeah, exactly. That would have probably been a lot better, in my opinion. Instead, we have an opening where it shows when, you know, the Soviets driving down a road with, you know, some people driving past them listening to Elvis Presley in their car on the radio. So, yeah. Although it was a big good pleasure to hear Elvis Presley's music, you know, Hound Dog. It's a great song, I guess. And it makes sense for a timeline. And because it takes place in 1957. And now when it comes to the cast, guys, there is also one character in this movie who I think is extremely annoying. Probably the worst part of the movie, in my opinion, in terms of the characters. And that's, of course, Mutt. Like, oh my god, right, Mutt. You know, this character right here, guys, played by Shia LaBeouf, is extremely annoying, in my opinion. I can't stand him. And I got one of the worst ones I've seen with Shia LaBeouf. I mean, I like him far better in Surf's Up, guys, and also in live-action films like Fury and The Tax Collector. And I guess maybe some others too, maybe. But yeah, honestly, right. He was extremely annoying in this movie, in my opinion. He really was, guys. I couldn't stand him at all. And all I cared about was combing his hair. That's all I cared about, pretty much. And he was just obnoxious and unlikable. And I definitely didn't like the scene in the bar where where he tells Indy that his mother's called Marion Williams, and then Indy says there's a lot of Marions, and then Mutt accuses him of being making fun of his mother, but he's not. Like, it's a simple fact that Immis Wahlberg's going to be lots of people with the same name, of course, but Mutt was just so annoying in that scene. He was stupid. And I talked about how I think the jungle chasing is somewhat okay for an action scene, guys. Well, there's one scene in that scene that really angers me and makes me not really like that scene that much. Because in the scene, guys, Mutt ends up on some vines above them. And guess what, guys? He swings on with monkeys. So, like, what? Why? Like, Mutt, you are not Tarzan at all. Like, that scene is just pure cringe to look at. Like, how dare they, or do that? Ridiculous. Out of place. Like, this is not Tarzan at all. Goodness me. Honestly, it was pure cringe to look at. And when it comes as well to the fight scene with Indiana Jones and Colonel Dovchenko, like I said, guys, the choreography is fine for that scene. Dovchenko is brutal, but when it comes to that scene, they had, like, some ants in that scene. I think they're called, like, Dorylus or red giant ants. And I looked up, apparently that species of ant isn't even native to the country they're in. I think it's Peru, I think. So, like, and apparently those ants are not native to that country. So, yeah. So that's one problem right there. They shouldn't be there. And the ants in that scene are CGI. And in my opinion, it's pretty disturbing. I mean, when I was a kid, I got pretty scared by it. But the thing is, guys, right? For some reason, in the scene where Indy knocked Dovchenko to the ground and the ants engulf him and he screams, for some reason, guys, every time I rewatch it, I laugh. I laugh. Because that scene is just so laughable in my opinion. Goodness me. Yeah. Like, honest to God. And also as well, when it comes as well to other bad guys, we even get some bad guys in the cemetery scene where Indy and Mutt are looking for a crystal skull area, falling on the traces of a character called Orellana, I think it is, yeah. And we get some people who are there, like cemetery warriors, and we don't even know who these people are. Like, who are they? They never confirm exactly who they are at all in the movie. It's pretty confusing, really. Although I do like Indiana Jones' quote where he says, where Mutt says, but as you're a teacher, but then Indiana Jones says he's part-time. Yeah, pretty cool there. And as well, I also as well think that all the pacing can be pretty slow as well in this movie, because the movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes, guys, right? A similar one time to the previous 3 movies, but the thing is, in my opinion, it feels longer. Yeah, I'm not kidding, it feels longer. Yeah. Because when I rewatch a movie, guys, sometimes I get pretty sleepy watching because some of the scenes are pretty boring, and there's some things which in my opinion should have been cut out but were not needed. For example, I didn't really like the argument scene on the truck between Indy, Marion, and Mutt about the relation of Mutt being Indy's son. Like, that was just pretty weird in my opinion, and because Mutt's an unlikable character, sometimes it's hard to accept him being Indiana Jones' son because he's so unlikable. And yeah. And, like, I think Dovchenko in that scene is literally my reaction to it, where he says, oh, for the love of God, shut the hell up. That's basically me in that scene. Yeah. Because that scene was just phenomenal. They should have cut it out. Would have probably saved some time, really, and added some necessary things more in, really. Yeah. It's just, pretty stupid, really, how it got so boring, really. And it's disappointing. This is what's in Indiana Jones movie, guys. And it's pretty slow at times. I mean, I remember back in 2008 when it came out, because my father saw this movie in the theatres, guys, and when he came back, he said it felt really long, and yeah, and when you watch a movie, I can see why, because it is pretty long. And when it comes to stupid scenes, guys, there's probably one particular stupid scene which is just absolutely ridiculous, where after escaping the Soviets on that high-speed train from the warehouse, Indiana Jones comes across a village, right? And he goes into it looking for help, but then he realizes that the people there are not people, that they're mannequins, because he's in a nuclear bomb testing site. And the Soviets who are looking for him there, they abandon the village when they hear the announcement that the bomb's going to go off. They drive off, but of course they don't make it either, because they die anyway from the bomb, because it destroys their car they're escaping in. So Indiana Jones has to has to shield himself, and he goes into the same house he was in before, where he realizes that the people are mannequins. And guess what, guys? We get an absolutely stupid scene where he hides in a fridge and somehow survives the bomb. Like, that is just plain ridiculous, right? Why didn't he get vaporized? Goodness me. At least, thankfully, after that scene, he did get clean away from radiation poisoning, you know, afterwards, when he returned, you know, to his bosses, when he told them about Mac being a traitor. And yeah. But still, that scene was just plain stupid. It's also spawned a meme too as well, you know, which was pretty shocking, really. Yeah. Goodness me. And furthermore as well, when it comes as well to Mac as well, the movie also rehashes the twist of Elsa being a villain from Last Crusade by doing it to Mac. But this time we do it at the beginning of the movie. And like, doesn't really make sense, really, how he becomes a villain out of nowhere, because they don't, like, give any hints of being a villain at all. Like, because like I said, guys, they should have had an unrelated opening where they get captured. They could probably give some hints there that, you know, Mac was one of the Soviets working for them as a captainess, as he says, but, yeah. And movie also can't decide if he's a villain or not, because after, of course, he betrays Indy, he joins the Soviets, and led by Spalko. Then, in the jungle chase scene, he lies to Indy, saying that he's a double agent working with CIA. And then he rejoins Indy, but he leaves trackers for the Soviets to find them. And then in the temple scene, where they come across the crystal skeletons, he turns on Indy, saying that he lied about being in the CIA. So yeah, the movie can't decide if he's a villain or not. And he's also as well greedy, because he, of course, doesn't want to escape the temple. He instead decides to steal some of the gold there. And yeah, and that, of course, results in him getting stuck through a portal with the other characters who were staying there, yeah. And Spalko, of course, got vaporized too, yeah. I mean, it does keep in, you know, the idea of the villains being killed by what is their one, because in this movie, Spalko wants to know everything, and then she gets overloaded information, and it causes her to burn up and vaporize, so yeah. She got what she wanted, but she ended up dying from it, just like the other villains did, yeah. And the scene with the UFO is just a complete joke as well. Yeah, pretty ridiculous. And however, when it comes to a temple scene, I do like how the people designing it included some Easter eggs referencing other franchise, because what's pretty cool is they included it on the tiles, also some pictures of E.T. from E.T. Extraterrestrial, another Spielberg masterpiece in my opinion, and also, of course, C-3PO and R2-D2 from Star Wars. So I guess that was pretty cool. I've included that, and of course, in the temple destruction scene, Indy says he's got a bad feeling about this, yeah, an iconic quote from Star Wars, and yeah. And then when it comes to a wedding scene, guys, you know how I said that, you know, it got ruined by a pretty stupid gag in that scene? Well, this is it, because after Indiana Jones and Marion get married, and we get congratulated by the people watching, the door opens, and there's a gust of wind, and it blows off Indiana Jones' fedora, and it falls on next to Mutt. And we get a stupid scene where he's about to put it on. And like, it makes me think he's going to be the next hero in the series, but thankfully, Indy took it off and put it on. Thank God for that. But like, that was just unnecessary. They shouldn't have included that in the scene. It ruined it, in my opinion. So yeah. But yeah, this movie, in my opinion, guys, is unnecessary. But when it comes to it, I do think it's okay, really. You know what I mean? For what it's worth for, guys, I would definitely take this 10 times over the Disney World sequel Trashology, where the hell that was. Yeah, I'd rather watch this over that any day. Absolutely. Because thankfully, it doesn't ruin Indiana Jones as a character, like how, of course, the sequel Trashology did to Han Solo. But yeah. So, I definitely rather watch this over that crap any day. And yeah, it, of course, also didn't really kill the Indiana Jones franchise per se, because we are getting my 5th installment next year, which I, of course, refuse to watch. So, like, yeah, because I've been nothing but bad news about it, so I'm not going to waste my time seeing one of my favourite heroes get ruined in a movie. Hell no. Because I'm going to call it right now, guys, that in my opinion, it's going to be the worst one of the franchise, even worse than this movie. So, yeah. And, yeah. So there's no way I'm ever going to watch this 5th movie. All thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to listen to John Williams' music when it comes out. I'm only going to listen to his music, and that's it. Especially because he said that he might be retiring from composing after this movie. So yeah, I will miss John Williams' music composed for movies, but you know, still, I will listen to his music in this, of course, yeah. Because he's my favourite composer of all time. So yeah. Now, so yeah, this movie, in my opinion, is a disappointing, unnecessary sequel. In my opinion, was not needed. And in my opinion, and The Last Crusade is where the franchise truly ended. So, if it was asking me what I'll give this movie out of 10, I will probably give it a very mediocre 6 out of 10. That's why I give it out of 10, because, yeah, unnecessary, in my opinion, with pretty stupid moments, you know, like the fridge scene and Mutt being a very unlikable character. And, yeah, so yeah, I just really did not like this movie that much compared to the first three, but in my opinion, it's still okay, to be honest. So, yeah, so 6 out of 10 is what I'd give it, guys. And yeah, and that brings my Indiana Jones film reviews to a close. So yeah, so I'm going to reiterate that I'm not going to be watching or reviewing the 5th movie. Hell no. Because I'm not going to watch one of my favourite action heroes of all time get ruined. Definitely not. I mean, red flags have been shown for it. Like, for example, the rumours of time travel. And of course, as well, you know, Spielberg dropping out to directing it. Yeah, I'm done. Not going to watch it. Hell no. So yeah. So guys, this is me doing my review for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom Crystal Skull. So you know, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys think of Kingdom Crystal Skull. Also, tell me what you think in the comments below, your thoughts are on it. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and in the future. If you would like to be a member, you can join it using a piece of lives, or you can order a description, and you chose wisely to watch this video.